Right, this is Jataro's second ride. Here's the 3-year-old untouched Andalusian gelding, and he had his first ride in the arena as well because I was having the loading ramp installed at the round pen, so we couldn't ride there. So he's had one other ride the day before in this arena, and we did a little bit of trot work on that ride. So today I'm hoping to do quite a lot more trot work and do some of the obstacles as well. I've got some bending poles set up there, and there's a barrel and a few other things, and I've got a little jump that I might set up later if he goes well. This is all part of the mounting lesson, to ask him just to stand still when mounted and not to move anywhere until I ask him to move off. It's a very important lesson, I find, for horses, and it's really nice for the riders just to have the horse stand there and wait and not be in a hurry to get going. I teach the same thing when I get off. I rest quite often when I'm riding the horse, and I just stand there and put the reins on the neck, and the horse learns very quickly that if I'm not asking it to do anything, it doesn't need to do anything and it can just relax. That was good. Yesterday he took a couple of steps backwards when I first asked him to move. But today you saw he just stepped to the right, which was really good.
Yes.
I think he might be a barrel horse.
A barrel belly horse.
Usually for my second ride I'd have more shoulder control than I have now, because I've been timing this, and we're getting into this beginning of his third hour of work. Because I'm timing it, I'm working out to where I can cut corners a little bit, and one of the places I realised I could cut corners would be on the shoulder control. So he's got what I call same rein, same foot. So if I bend him right, he goes right, and right here I bend him left and he follows his nose around to the left. Usually before I get on I'd have a little more shoulder control than that, so I'd have some reverse arc. So if, for example, he was travelling to the left, I would keep him bent left, but I could put the rein up to his neck and he'd move his shoulders to the right. So without losing any of his bend or his flexion or his softness and suppleness, I'd be able to move his shoulders around. And that's very useful for a horse, especially young horses that often, fall in on a circle, for example. So if I'm circling around to the left here, and the horse is making the circle smaller and smaller, and his shoulder is falling into the centre of the circle, rather than pick up the right rein and move his shoulders out to the right, I could simply put the left rein on his neck and move his shoulders out to the right. Now this horse doesn't know that yet, and I don't think that's at all necessary for the Way of the Horse competition, but it is something that I do with every young horse before I get on, so that would be worth pointing out during the competition. And there'll be various things, and as I work with many more horses before the competition itself, I'll make notes of the things that I am skipping and the things that I'm cutting short, and where I would go back and exactly what I would do when I went back. This is good. He's trotting quite nicely forward. I don't ever worry about the quality of the gait in these early rides. What I want him to do is simply trot. So
It's quite a nice trot.
Have a 2 times movement rather than a walk movement, and I don't want him to canters, but if he just jogs along, even though he's an Andalusian, if he does a sort of quarter horsey type jog, I'm quite happy with that, as long as he's trotting. I think it's a mistake to try and get too much too soon, and a lot of people, when they're training their horse, and even a broken horse, one that's already been started under saddle, and a lot of people come to me and they want to do dressage, for example, and whilst I'm teaching them things like softness and frame and things like that, quite a useful pace is a jog, even if you're riding a Hanoverian, for example. And a lot of people worry that, and they say to me, I can't go into the dressage arena with that sort of a pace, I've got to have a working trot, and that is absolutely right. But it's important that you conserve the horse's energy whenever you're training. And so I find that a jog is a very useful training gait. I would never dream of riding a jog in a dressage test, but you've got plenty of time to get the quality of the gait after you've trained the thing it is that you're trying to train the horse. And right now, all I want him to know is go forward, be soft in the bridle, and follow your nose. And so any sort of a trot is going to be good for me here. And he's really doing very well. I'm very pleased with him. I usually start these early rides in sitting trot. I do a bit of rising trot, I think, on Jataro today, but I do spend 80% of my time in sitting trot. I like to be able to feel the horse's back. There I'm doing a little bit of rising, give him a feel for that. But I do like to be in close contact with the horse, and I can feel his back a lot better if I'm sitting to the trot.
minutes.
Now this is one of those rest periods that I take quite frequently. Usually quite early on I teach the horse to put its head down while we rest. So one of the rules about resting is that your head's got to be below your wither, and then as soon as it comes up and he wants to look at something else, I figure, well, if he's got the energy to do that, he's probably got the energy to keep working, and I work him again. I haven't taught Jataro that. I do teach him later. There's a little video of my teaching him to put his head down, and it is something that I was thinking I might use in the skills test, in the creative section of the skills test. I would rather like to show that my horse is still paying attention and still learning and still listening, and also calm and quiet without being, exhausted. So I think that might be quite a good thing to keep for the creative section of the skills test. He is actually standing very nicely and calmly, so I'm very happy with that. As you can see, I'm just praising him for doing so. I think the owner, Jataro's owner, is now over setting up the small step over log with the jump wings next to it. This is very good to see Jataro relaxed there and just waiting for me to ask him to do something else. This is basically what I'm after in a horse, and it's a real sign of confidence that he'll stand and wait till he's asked to do something, rather than, jittering around and wondering what he should do next and getting nervous. He's actually fairly confident, and considering the owner had been sort of throwing around the jump wings and carrying on, he stood very quietly and nicely. Now, he's having a bit of a look at them too, so I'm just going to work him past them and not make a big issue out of it. Now gently encourage him with my legs, and he steps over it. This is just one of the many ways you can break it down. I could have broken this lesson down even more. Of course, I could have had the pole there without the wings, or I could have had the wings there without the pole. But I find the more you break the lesson down, the faster the horse actually learns it. And also the more you break the lesson down, the more opportunities you have to praise the horse. So the more things he gets right, which makes him more confident And what I really want to do is ride a confident horse. A confident
barrel
horse that
racer
knows
wants
his
to be a
job,
jumper
knows what's
too.
going to happen next. And a confident horse is a very safe horse. So I'm always trying to build confidence in my horse.
Oh. I'm stuck. He trod on it.
So I teach everything I can from the ground first, if I can, and I could have taught this from the ground as well. I could have walked him over the poles, and I also teach it when I do get in the saddle. I teach it
Yay!
what I can in walk, and then I move to trot and then to canter.
Woohoo!
It's good. Looks like I need to do a little bit more working on halts. I'm just going to jump off quickly and put one side of the jump up. Again, it's a way of breaking it down for the horse. And it also gives me the
Now you're
opportunity
10
to
minutes.
mount and dismount as well, so
10.
that's useful as well.
Yeah. Did you want me to pause?
So first of all, take him over and walk straight over it. He's confident with that, which is good.
Okay, we'll do a couple more minutes and then I think we're calling good. Whoa.
Okay, good idea.
There we are. I did discuss with the owner. I thought the horse was ready to go into canter. I'd been quite happy to canter him around a bit and show both sides of canter. He did canter quite happily on the long lines, picked up both leads correctly. However, he was quite unbalanced, which you would expect, given that he, probably has never cantered a 20-metre circle before. And I didn't really think it was of particular benefit to the horse, and certainly didn't think it was going to be of a benefit to the owner, and decided with her not to pop him into canter. And I think that the canter, is just a decision that one has to make on the day and the way of the horse competition.
Can you go over the jumpers one more time, please?
It's a different thing cantering
Yes,
around the
please.
round pen, but when you get out into the larger area,
We're not
I'll
ready,
just have to
but
decide
thanks for
on whether or
asking.
not I think my horse is up to that. And
I'll
if
let
I
him
don't
gallop
think it's
instead.
going to be pretty, then I'll decide not to do that particular element of the skills test. This horse, for example, I'd be happy doing it on, but Joker, probably not. So, as I say, it's a decision I'd have to make on the day, and it would depend upon the horse. Anyway, that's the end of Jataro's second ride, and I was very pleased with that.